Okay, so we're all the way up now to Medicare Part D. We're on the home stretch. If you're following along in the book, Medicare Part D, you can start reading about it on page 84. Tremendous amount of information there, but we're going to skip to page 89 and try to keep this as simple as possible. On page 89, they give an example here of a Mrs. Smith. And they show how Mrs. Smith goes through the 4 different phases of Part D. So we're going to explain them as we go along, as well as we're going to talk about the drug tiers when we get there. So for Medicare Part D, here we go. First of all, it says monthly premium. Mrs. Smith pays a monthly premium throughout the year. To give you an idea, I think the average premium for 2011 was around $32. Now, Medicare Part D, again, is through private insurance companies, much like Medicare Advantage. It's kind of outsourced. Medicare Part D is set up through private insurance companies, but it's administered by Medicare. It's still Medicare. The Part D is through the insurance company, and your premium that you pay would be to the insurance company. Now, the easiest way to get enrolled in Medicare Part D is to just go online to Medicare.gov, and they have a really easy way to enroll in Part D. Shows you all the different plans. If you have any questions, feel free to call us. We'll be glad to explain what you're looking at, or call Medicare, either one. They'll be glad to help you also. But with that said, we'll get back to here. So you're going to have a premium for your Medicare Part D. Then it goes on to say, in addition, you're going to have a yearly deductible. Now, not all plans have yearly deductibles. When you pick your plan, that's one of the things you'll look at. Does it have a yearly deductible? And if so, how much? And you just compare to figure out which plan's best for you. But they show Mrs. Smith had a yearly deductible of $320. So first, if you have a deductible, you're responsible for that. Next, you have a copayment and co-insurance, but they have a cap. We'll read through it. Mrs. Smith pays a copayment, and her plan pays its share for each covered drug until their combined amount plus the deductible reaches $2,930. So when you and the insurance company together, and they will send you a statement in Medicare each month showing where you're at, how much you've paid, the insurance company's paid, and how much more you have to go to, you get to the coverage gap or donut hole. But when you and the insurance company together have paid this much on the year for your drugs, you then hit what's called the coverage gap. Number 3, once Mrs. Smith and her plan has spent $2,930 for covered drugs, she is in the coverage gap, otherwise known as the donut hole. In 2012, she gets a 50% discount on covered brand name prescription drugs. We're going to come back to that in just a second. And she pays 86% of the plan's cost for covered generic drugs. Then it goes on. All right, so you get the coverage gap when you get here. And when you hit the coverage gap, you and the insurance have paid this much together, you are then responsible for 100% of the cost of the drugs until you hit what's called number 4, catastrophic coverage. Once Mrs. Smith has spent $4,700 out of pocket for the year, her coverage gap now ends. She only pays a small co-insurance or co-payment for each drug until the end of the year. But once you've paid out of your pocket $4,600 for the year, then insurance kicks back in. You're outside of the coverage gap or donut hole. To show you how they come up with this donut hole, this is what they say. There's your donuts. And on January 1 of each year, you start eating away at the donut. You've got $2,930 worth of insurance coverage right here that we've talked about. However, when you've spent this much out of pocket, you hit the coverage gap, and you are 100% responsible until you come out the other end of the donut hole at $4,600. Then, once you have paid out of your pocket $4,600 for the year, you're outside of the coverage gap, the donut hole, the insurance kicks back in, and you're going to have a copay of a small amount for the remainder of the year. The insurance will pick back up the rest until the end of the year, December 31st, which is the other end of the donut, at which time it starts back over again. January 1, paying your deductibles. So that's how the coverage gap and the donut hole work. Hope you understand. Hope that was clear. Tried to make it as clear as I can. Now, so that's Part D in general. The other thing that we need to talk about here is a formulary. When you enroll in a Medicare Part D plan, they will send you a formulary, and the formulary is going to tell you what your copays are. It's similar to the summary of benefits under Medicare Advantage in that they tell you what your responsibilities are going to be. In fact, I have the same summary of benefits, and in the back it gives examples. So we're going to look at them and go through them. Okay, again, on your formulary, drugs on Medicare are divided up into tiers, and it depends what tier the drug is, how much your copay will cost. We'll show you. For instance, this particular summary of benefits in the back, it's got what the copays would be for this particular Medicare Part D's plan. And on the Tier 1, these are generics. Generic. On Tier 1 generic, it would have a copay, this particular plan, of $0. That's kind of the exception, not the rule. Oftentimes you're going to see $3, $4, $6, $10. It's going to be a small amount, generally $10 or less is what you're going to pay for your Tier 1 generics. Now again, when we spent $2,930 before we hit the coverage gap, so you know when you're spending these small amounts, your drug's not going to cost that much. That's not going to put you in the coverage gap. But next we have Tier 2 drugs. Now in the formulary here, these are always called preferred brand names. Preferred brand names. And my formulary summary of benefits here shows the copay at $43. And that's typical. They're generally going to be around $40-some for a copay. Again, that's what you would pay. The insurance is going to pay X amount for that drug. We don't know. But again, that's going to continue adding towards how much you and the insurance company together have had for the year. Now, if you're taking Tier 3 drugs, these are non-preferred brand name drugs. Their copay, $85. Now, when you start getting into these tier drugs, Tiers 3, 4, and 5 as we're going to see, now you start talking about money that, hey, if the insurance company, if you're paying $85, that insurance company may be paying $300 for their half of the drug, and it was not going to take you long before you've chomped away at that and you're going to hit the donut hole. So you can see the tier of your drugs is very important, and it's something to talk to your doctors about, but we'll get down that road. If you're having problems with the donut hole, we can talk about it a little bit. Okay, Tier 4 now. These are what they refer to as injectable drugs. Injectable, make sure I spell that right, with an A. Injectable drugs. Guess what injectable drugs are, folks? These are specialty drugs, generally cancer drugs, like chemotherapy. Now also you have what's called specialty tier drugs, specialty drugs. That's Tier 5. These are also, let's see, how do they describe them here in the book? It doesn't say. But regardless, they're also cancer drugs. These would be when you go to your pharmacist, like we talked about with Rita Moore, and her drug costs $2,600 more a month than she makes. Well, that was because she was taking cancer drugs that are going to fall out down here in these Tier 4, Tier 5 specialty. And the copay on these, kind of forgot that, left that off, 33%. These are the drugs that in the introductory, folks, the Cancer 101, they showed the cost. $30,000, $40,000, $60,000, $110,000 a year. You would be responsible for 33%. So if the drug costs $30-some thousand a year and you're responsible for 33%, it's not going to take you very long at all until you've hit that. You're into the donut hole. You're out to $4,600, $4,700 for the year, and then it kicks back in after that with the catastrophic. That once you get through the donut hole and get to catastrophic, that 33% generally drops down to 5% for the remainder of the year. So that's how the tiering system works. That's how Medicare Part D works. I hope this has been helpful information. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to contact us. That really does it for Medicare's Part A, B, C, and D. I'm going to do one more video now where we summarize it up and I explain and we talk about the different pros and cons to each one of the two options. And let's figure out if original Medicare or Medicare Advantage is the right option for you. So thank you very much. One more to go.